Hi, it's me, Tim Dowd, the Everyday Astronaut. Good morning and welcome to another rocket launch, another suborbital rocket launch that I'm pretty excited to see, because this is going to be Blue Origin's attempt at hopefully showing off that they're getting close to ready to fly people, I hope, because this is their 14th launch of the New Shepard program. Everyone has just been a smashing success, and I really hope that they have another success and are ready to put people on it, because that will be a great milestone. So to give you an idea of what we're going to see today, let's pop on over to everydayastronaut.com, where you can read our pre-launch preview for NS-14. That is what this mission is here today. So this is NS-14. Anytime you guys have any questions about upcoming rocket launches, just go to everydayastronaut.com. And here you go. This is what we're going to be expecting today. The time has changed. As you can tell by our countdown clock, we're 27 minutes away. That's why we kept pushing back our stream. We push our streams back whenever the launch provider pushes back a stream or their T0 time. Especially today, we're going to be having a little bit more limited time. After we do this, I have to go and record a podcast. I do a podcast every week called Our Ludicrous Future. olfpod.com if you guys are looking for some more podcast content. And I talk about rockets every week. And then, of course, we talk about futurism and kind of green energy and EVs and stuff, too. So if that's your type of thing, definitely check out olfpod. So I do have kind of a hard cutoff, so we can't be wasting any time today. So hopefully this thing just takes off pretty much right on time. So it's currently scheduled for 10:57 a.m. Central. That is 16:57 UTC. The mission name is NS-14 for New Shepard 14. The launch provider for this is Blue Origin. The customer is Blue Origin. Their rocket, this is their New Shepard 4, so it's their fourth actual rocket, and also I believe is this the third or fourth capsule? Now that's something I'm currently blanking on, though, of whether or not this is actually a new capsule or not. The launch location, this is Launch Site 1 from Corn Ranch, Texas. And here I thought Iowa was corny, but there's nothing worse than, there's nothing more corn than Corn Ranch. The payload mass, not available. Where is this going to go? It's just going on a suborbital trajectory just above the Kármán line. So they just barely crest at over 100 kilometers, up to about 110 kilometers or so, or 105. But so you technically would get your wings if you're flying on New Shepard. And they be attempting to recover the first stage. That is, of course, one of the coolest things about the New Shepard booster is it does propulsively land. Very similar, very, very familiar for those of us that like SpaceX rockets. One of the cool things, though, about New Shepard is it can hover, and it sometimes does hover and translate over. And I think that looks really cool. It's actually inefficient to hover, but when you're just doing these little suborbital hops, you might as well have a little extra flair and make it look cool, right? Will they be attempting to recover the first stage? Yes, it will land on Blue Origin's landing pad about 3.3 kilometers from the launch site. Will they be attempting to recover the fairings? There are no fairings on New Shepard. Again, there's no fairings. And how the weather's looking is not currently available. This will be the 14th flight of the New Shepard rocket, the first flight of this particular booster. So if you want to read more and more about what exactly you can expect from today's launch, or about almost any upcoming launch, go to everydayastronaut.com. Check out our brand new website that is much better than our old website. Our website crew has been absolutely killing it. So everyone say thank you to Austin, who whipped this up in a hurry, because they did not really give us much time at all to prepare for this article. They only told us about this mission like yesterday, I think. or maybe 2 days ago. Like, we did not get much time to prepare for this. So, Austin, thank you for whipping this article up so quickly. So, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to pull up the main feed. So, yeah, the one thing to remember, okay, their main feed is actually about ready. I'll double check that it is. I believe it is, but it is. Yep. Let me pull this up full screen here, and let's listen, because we're probably going to learn a lot about where they're at. So
weightlessly, of course, but it's also designed to help suppress engine and other ambient noises inside the cabin. There are also environmental systems, including a cooling system and a humidity control to regulate temperatures and also prevent capsule windows from fogging during the flight, as well as we've got a carbon dioxide scrubbing system today.
Yeah, and Ariane, we should mention one awesome new addition to this first flight here. As we ascend and launch, about 16 seconds into the flight, we're going to start rotating the booster and the capsule at about 2 to 3 degrees per second, and that's going to rotate the whole stack, once every 2 to 3 minutes. Now, what that's going to do is for all the astronauts in the capsule, and Mannequin Skywalker in this case, they're going to be able to get a 360-degree view out of those gorgeous windows, over that West Texas valley and that, curved horizon of the Earth. So it's going to be little things like that that are going to make a huge difference for the astronaut experience. So I want to thank our engineers for designing this into the flight profile so that every astronaut is going to get that great view. So great job, team. Now, let's check in on New Shepard as she gets ready for her 14th flight to space.
Whatever you do, do not take a drink every time they say the word Windows. You would die. They do love to boast those huge, huge windows. They are massive. I mean, I've been up close and personal with some of the hardware and some of their demonstration vehicles and stuff, and it's big. It's like, I would definitely want to be sitting next to a window that size if going to space. Now, friendly reminder, this vehicle is just a suborbital test bed.
Everybody, welcome back for New Shepard's 14th mission to space. We're coming to you live. Now, Patrick, we've talked quite a bit about the fact that New Shepard isn't only for tourism, but also for research. And when we fly humans soon, research will be able to fly, scientists will be able to fly with their research. Also, astronauts could use the New Shepard for training to eventually go into orbital space or up to the International Space Station. So our platform allows astronauts to do end-to-end mission training, which could include, ground crew operations, vehicle operations, and the crew just in general gets good real-world team experience. And what this does is it builds upon our payloads program, which has already taken more than 100 payloads to space on previous missions. And as we noted today, Mannequin Skywalker is on board, and he's going to be taking some payloads with him. You want to tell us about that, Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely. So today, Mannequin Skywalker, our veteran astronaut right there, will be carrying some postcards in his flight suit from a nonprofit Club for the Future. Now, Mannequin Skywalker, on his flight suit, is also going to be wearing a pin from the club's partner, Space Camp from Huntsville, Alabama. Now, this is going to be the 3rd flight for our Club for the Future, and we have flown, we're about to fly 50,000 postcards on board this flight. Very exciting. And in total, we've flown more than 100,000 of these postcards to space from students around the world.
That's awesome. Have a great flight, Mannequin Skywalker. I think we're both pretty jealous that we're not in there with you today.
I know.
All right, Patrick, so we all know here at Blue Origin, we've got this step-by-step approach. It's our philosophy that we live by here at Blue. And while today's flight is focused on another big step towards flying humans, it's also going to continue to prove out technologies and architectures that we'll use on other vehicles. And Patrick, I believe there actually is some technology on board today that is helping one of the projects that you're working on. Is that right?
That's right, Ariane. So I'm part of our advanced development programs team, and we're very thankful for all the progress that New Shepard has made. It's a very robust system, and on this mission, we're going to continue to prove it out for human spaceflight. But in doing that, we're also going to be further demonstrating the flight heritage of that BE-3 engine there. That's a liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen engine on that booster that you see there. Now, for our descent element, which is part of the integrated human landing system, that's the lander for NASA's Artemis program, we're using that same vertical landing, vertical takeoff architecture. We're using the same autonomy schemas, and then we're also using the same propellant type for that BE-7 engine there on that bottom of that lander too. Now, if we see right there, that's our BE-7 engine firing at Huntsville, Alabama. That's at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. Gorgeous. I love seeing all that smoke and fire come out of that engine, right?
Yeah, and if you look closely, I think you can even see some shock diamonds in there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's actually all steam. That's because when you have liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen burning together, it actually produces, just steam, which is really, super eco-friendly if you're firing these things in the atmosphere.
Of course, what we see coming out of the tail end of New Shepard on her way to space, right?
Exactly. Very, very same propellant combination. And so, as we saw on our last flight, we had lunar landing sensors on that one on board the booster, and that allowed us to test precision landing technology for terrain relative navigation and hazard avoidance. And as you saw there in that picture perfect landing, our team gathered a lot of great data, and we're flowing into future New Shepard flights with those sensors, as well as to NASA to advance this sensor technology even further. And so in the future, we can take all of that great tech and apply it to our lunar missions. And so with every mission that we do on New Shepard, that's helping propel all the other programs that we have going on. So a good day for New Shepard is actually a great day for our lunar landing system, the human landing system, NASA's Artemis program, and all of the other programs we have here at Blue Origin.
Right. We do spend a lot of time thinking about the longer-term architecture, right? They're all connected somehow, so the work kind of spills over into future projects. Well, so on that note, I would like to roll a film that we have here that compiles all the progress that we've made. And when I say we, I mean our national team. We're working together with Lockheed Martin, with Northrop Grumman, and with Draper to go back to the moon with NASA, and this time to stay.
Well, we'll actually listen in here if it has information, but I think you can see this online already.
Leadership, outstanding experience that I like to work with.
Yeah, I think this has already been posted. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of extra info here. So I know a lot of people are always saying like, oh, I'll care about Blue Origin when they get to orbit and stuff. Well, this vehicle is not ever designed for orbit. This is a completely different vehicle. Basically, what Blue Origin decided to do is essentially, how SpaceX used to have the F9R and the Grasshopper vehicle. How they're learning how to propulsively land and do some of that stuff with Falcon 9. Blue Origin decided we'll try to pay for some of that progress and pay for some of that R&D, that research and development, by selling seats on this thing and making it a safe suborbital tourism vehicle. So that way it could kind of compete with Virgin Galactic and what they're doing. So it's not, I know that people might get frustrated that it doesn't seem like there's been much going on, but trust me, when you see what they're working on with New Glenn, they're leapfrogging big time. They're going from this tiny little thing that's not much bigger than the landing legs of a Falcon 9, and they're going up to a massive vehicle that is almost close to the same size as Starship. And it will have propulsive landing for the first stage. There's even been talks about eventually trying to recover the second stage. But at first, when New Glenn flies, having a reusable first stage will be huge. And payload capacity in some ways outperforming Falcon Heavy even for their very first rocket. And now some people again might say well, they're too late because Starship. I don't think they're too late. I think it's taking a little bit longer than I think most of us would have liked. But at the same time, they never really promised. I think forever ago they were saying 2021. So I mean, as far as I've been following the program, I believe they've been saying 2021, maybe end of 2020. So they're maybe about a year behind at most, and that's nothing in spaceflight. Honestly, it's. I think people need to understand how much time it does take to actually build a fully orbital vehicle and the infrastructure for that. And the infrastructure for New Glenn is it's massive. Go out to Kennedy Space Center, or go out to Cocoa Beach, look up the beach. It's insane. So let's listen in here and see if we can keep learning some stuff about today's mission.
Patrick, it's amazing to see the progress that has been made in what is relatively a short amount of time. So kudos to your team and you and the whole national team. If you all would like to see more, we did post the full version of that video on Blue Origin's YouTube channel, so go check it out. Okay, we are at T-minus 16 minutes and 40 seconds to go until launch. Why don't we take a moment here and check out our rocket as she prepares for her maiden flight to space.
Sweet. This is even bigger than it looks, because they actually have this in their lobby at their Kennedy Space Center, the factory right outside of the Kennedy Space Center visitor complex. There's the factory right there, and it's huge. I don't know, the scale for some reason was just off to me. Like, to me, I honestly thought it was about half the size.
Welcome back, everybody, to our live webcast of New Shepard's 14th flight to space for the system, the first for this rocket. We are certainly looking forward to seeing this launch this morning. But before we get there, let's talk about the incredible work that we're doing down in Huntsville, Alabama. Now, Huntsville is where we've been developing our BE-7 engines and where our lunar program office is based. Huntsville also was the home of the Saturn rocket, which took Apollo astronauts all the way to the moon and back. So it's fitting that it's also the place where we've decided to put our lunar program office. We've been growing our presence in Huntsville, and it's also the home to our high-rate engine factory, which just less than a year after it's been open has 145 people in it. Our very own Jackie Cortez was in Huntsville recently and filmed a short tour of the factory, so why don't we take a look?
So, yeah, this is the new Huntsville
Here
factory.
we are inside Blue Origin Huntsville.
Let's listen to this, actually.
There is a lot happening here at our full-rate engine production facility. Blue Origin is developing both the BE-4 engine and the BE-3U here in Huntsville. And it's also home to Blue Origin's Lunar Program Office. This is the BE-4 engine. It is 550,000 pounds of thrust, and it is built right here in Huntsville, Alabama. BE-4 is powering both Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket and United Launch Alliance's Vulcan booster.
Those are not to scale with each other, by the way.
What we call the high bay. It takes a lot to make the BE-4 and the BE-3U engines. A lot of cutting-edge technology, top-notch machining, and we're going to see a lot of that here today. So what we have here is one of our laser welding machines, and laser welding is a critical process for both BE-4 and BE-3U. BE-4 is a regeneratively cooled engine, and so these channels are really important to flow that cool liquid through. Inspection is a really important part of the engine production process, and so let's go ahead and take a look in the dye penetrant lab.
Dye penetrant is a surface inspection. We'll look at the preforms and the weldments, and we'll look for cracks and any defects that might be in there.
Another inspection technique is X-ray.
We shoot each portion of the weld and we examine the images just like you would have at a medical X-ray. We're looking for defects or anything that is detrimental to the part.
The machine shop here in Huntsville is very impressive. There is an entire row of mill machines. The piece will come in, it is loaded into the machine, and it's milled down to the required specifications for that particular component. Last but certainly not least, I'm really excited to show you all the newest addition to Blue Origin Huntsville, a full-scale mock-up of our lunar lander for the Human Landing System program.
That's actually high fidelity.
This lander is powered by the BE-7 engine, which is the newest engine in Blue Origin's propulsion family. NASA's program is named Artemis because Artemis was the twin sister of Apollo, and through the Artemis program, we are looking to land the first woman on the moon. Thanks for joining me for the tour today. I had such a great time showing you all around, and I cannot wait to update you on what's next here in Huntsville.
Oh, that BE-4 is awesome.
As mentioned, Patrick, we just opened that factory less than a year ago in February, and it's amazing to see just how fast that factory is coming to life with all the machinery. It's also very cool that our lunar program is down there in Huntsville, given the rich space history that's in the area.
That's right, from chariots for Apollo to landers for Artemis. It's, while we're on the topic of all this great work Huntsville doing, I'm excited to talk about something I'm especially geeky about, and that's Space Camp, which is also in Huntsville. Me too. Quite geeky. So I've always wanted to go there as a kid. I haven't gotten to go. And as we mentioned, our Blue Origin's nonprofit Club for the Future is a partner of Space Camp, and they've been working together on various, STEM programs. They've also gotten hundreds of their Space Camp trainees to actually, make these postcards, which can be flying to space today on that New Shepard capsule. Right. So our intrepid field correspondent, Caitlin Dietrich, was on the scene in Huntsville recently, and she got to go on a great tour that she didn't tell us about.
I don't know how we missed this memo. I think there are going to be conversations about this.
Exactly. So we're all super jealous of Caitlin. Let's see what she got to do while she was over there.
Hey everyone, we're at Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. We're really excited today to talk about our partnership and Club for the Future and get a little tour of Space Camp and pretend to be an astronaut for a day.
All right, well, let's get started. This is our Mars base. We've actually got some basil over here. We had some parsley, so we're growing all sorts of stuff.
Wow, let's see. On Blue Origin's last launch, NS-13, Club for the Future flew tomato spheres seeds to space. We just planted a few here. Okay. Tomatoes on Mars.
Yes.
So, love it.
So we're going to head over and actually jump into Discovery.
We tried to do as much hands-on and immersive activities as we can.
Houston, we have a problem.
Why don't I go ahead and answer a few of your guys' questions here, because
the missions.
Yeah, Space Camp's awesome, but we've got some questions to answer for you guys. So this is from Jaren or Heron. Says, do you guys ever reach out to Blue Team for more info, and can we expect more transparency from them in the future? Also, which pad are they leasing? Thanks. Their main pad is Slick 6, I believe. I'm already blanking. It's been so long since I've thought about it. But Blue Origin, Cape Canaveral launch pad. I believe it's 36. There we go. 36. Yes. Launch Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station now. That's right. 6 is on the East Coast. That's like 6E. But yeah, they're going to be launching from 36, and it's really far along. Like, they have huge launch tower, huge lightning mitigation towers, a giant high bay, or a horizontal bay actually. It's really big, and it's definitely making a lot of progress. And if you, like I said, if you're up in Florida and you look up from the Cape Canaveral, out at Cocoa Beach or Cape Canaveral Beach, and you look north, that's all you're going to see. It dominates the landscape. It's just crazy. So, and as far as Blue, we have a good relationship with the Blue Team, but they just don't really update us. They don't have an eccentric CEO like Elon who's just constantly giving little tidbits on every little thing that's happening. Excuse me. So, it's just different. But they're showing us, this is more traditional. This is the way that a normal aerospace company functions, where they just kind of show you what they're working on when they're ready to show you, right? They definitely are working on a lot of stuff, but they just kind of don't show us it until it's been done. So notice we are in a hold, by the way. They'll probably talk about that here in a second.
Man, I think she definitely deserved her astronaut wings for that one. I'm not quite sure how well I do in that tumble sim.
I would not have done well at all.
Well, thank you, Space Camp, for the tour, and we really appreciate not only the tour, but also we're very proud to be able to fly a set of your wings on Mannequin Skywalker's flights to space today. Okay, we are at T-minus 12 minutes. We are in a hold here. We've said it in previous webcasts. If we need a couple of minutes extra to prepare our launch today, that's quite all right. We spend years designing these vehicles and building them, months preparing for missions. So if we need a couple more minutes, that's quite all right. But while we have a couple minutes here, why don't we talk about kind of the broader mission that we all in the space sector are a part of, and that's inspiring the next generation. Maybe to go into space, but definitely to go into other STEM areas. So we actually have some questions about space, I believe, from some school students. So why don't we check out one of those questions?
Hello, Blue Origin. My name is Alexander Mather from Fairfax County, Virginia. When I first arrived at Space Camp, I had no idea that my life would forever change. I learned that the opportunities in space are as vast as space itself. One of Blue Origin's most well-known creations is the New Shepard, a reusable space rocket. So, how do you make a rocket reusable? I understand the concept, but the way the system works is far beyond me. Help us understand how Blue Origin built the New Shepard
Producer Andrews reminded me that
vehicle.
Is this the same kid that also happened to name Perseverance?
Great question, Alex. Now, at the center of any rocket, but certainly at the center of New Shepard's reusable rocket, is the engine. And that is absolutely critical to reusability. Because what that engine allows us to do is take off like a regular rocket, but because it's throttleable, we can pull back on the throttle. That allows for a nice soft landing of the rocket, which means A, that we get the rocket back, and B, that it comes back nice and gently so that the refurbishment on the rocket is rather minimal. So that is critical. That's kind of the secret sauce, if you will, to our reusable rocket, is that incredible BE-3 engine. Again, great question, Alex. Okay, we're at T-minus 12 minutes. Again, we are still in a hold here, and while we've got a little bit of time, why don't we check out New Shepard as she gets ready for her flight today?
They'll probably have to do this a decent amount because their programming might not necessarily be ready for these kind of holds, so sometimes they just show a shot of the rocket, and that's why we are watching here, so we can give you guys some updates too. So this is from Thomas, Everyday Astronaut, T-shirts and live streams incorporated. JK, love your work. Here's the success of today's launch and this weekend. Yeah, I'm hoping for a successful launch this weekend, especially because we've been out here. I've been out here for over 10 or 11 days out in Boca Chica, which is also, yeah, this is a question too from Ben Lonergan. Yes, I'm at Boca Chica. I'm in South Texas. I have been now for a couple days for, yeah, like I said, about since last, yeah, it's been about 10 days now. So I'm ready. We have everything pretty much all set up. We are doing a few more things. We came up with a really good solution. Andrew had an awesome idea for our remote camera that's going to allow us to have even more redundancy, which is always a good thing. I'm all about having backups. You guys know what happens. Even though we had what I thought was backups of everything last time we streamed, we still had some problems getting the stream started occasionally. So we've got backups on backups and plan A's and B's of quite literally, I think, almost literally everything at this point. I mean, we're definitely getting there. So just hoping to be able to, get you guys the best coverage that we can of everything that we can. So Musical Wolves wants to know, are TFRs needed to do a static fire? Yes, but they're different because they still will do a NOTAM, a notice to airmen. But if I remember right, I mean, isn't a NOTAM basically technically part of also kind of like a NOTAM and a TFR kind of the same thing? But the notice to airmen also applies to the sea. I'm actually not entirely sure. We were kind of talking about it a little bit in our Discord channel. And real quick, Andrew, our this strap thing is like dangling over the balcony. You want to go like tie it up quick? Cool. Yeah, and we also had the question, why are, let's see, someone asked why in Discord. It was a good question. It's just basically, why are they holding?
Welcome back, everybody, to New Shepard's 14th mission to space. We are T-minus 12 minutes to go until launch. This rocket that you see on the pad, she is getting ready for her first mission. You see she's looking nice and shiny, new there. We're going to give her a couple of reused rockets char marks, hopefully in a couple of minutes here. That should be exciting. But we are in a hold here. We just want to make sure we give some time to our teams to get aligned. And while we've got a little bit of extra time, why don't we take another question from a student about space?
Hello, my name is Kier Fair, and I am a sophomore in Lexington, Kentucky. My first experience with Blue Origin occurred 3 years ago while I was at Kennedy Space Center attending Space Camp. I had no idea that so many companies outside of NASA were involved in space and planet exploration. So the question I have is, what do you hope to gain from establishing human habitats on the moon?
Thanks, Kira. Great question. So our vision at Blue Origin is millions of people living and working in space to benefit Earth. And you're right, one of the next steps that we have on our agenda, if you will, is to go to the moon, and this time to stay. And why is that important? Whether you're living on a space station that's orbiting the Earth, or you're living on some sort of body out there in space, we need to understand what it takes to live long term in this difficult environment. And so by going to the moon, it's the nearest body where we can go there, establish a base, figure out how we can live and work in space, because it's not easy when you're out there and you don't have any atmosphere and it's cold and you need to figure out how to transport oxygen and water and all those sorts of critical elements that we as humans need to live and work in space. So, good question. Thanks, Kira. All right, why don't we throw it back to the rocket and wait here as New Shepard gets ready for her 14th mission to space and this rocket's maiden launch to space and back.
All right, we'll take a few more questions here. This one comes from the mighty Sir Woof of, I love this name, of Woofmore. Hello, Tim. Looking forward to this launch. Best of luck, Blue Origin. Can't wait for SN9 launch. #Team Space. absolutely. You guys know me. I am personally a big fan actually of this rocket because it's developed. They've proven out how to reuse a vehicle, how to do propulsive landing. It's proven how to, prepare for the next step. And this engine, the BE-3 that's on here, will actually be the upper stage engine for New Glenn. Now, New Glenn will have, I believe it's 2 BE-3s that are vacuum optimized on the upper stage. That has changed a few times, but the first stage will have 7 BE-4s, and those BE-4s are huge. They're about as powerful as the Raptor engine, or technically right now rated at a higher rating than the Raptor's current highest rating, but the Raptor is kind of closing that gap pretty quickly. So it's a really, really, really powerful engine. And so having 7 of those it gives you a good sense of just how much power. I mean, it's almost as much thrust as the Falcon Heavy, but it's a little bit more efficient because it's using methane, and then the upper stage is using hydrogen, so it has a lot more delta V in those upper stages, a lot more potential. So, yeah, I'm excited about this stuff. I think this vehicle and this program is a great way to test out and get things ready while they're working on the big monster behind closed doors. This is from Man M. Hello, Tim. Can you give a shout out to my dog Buddy who passed away overnight? Absolutely. Oh man, I'm really, really sorry to hear that, man. That's really tough. We will be thinking about you and Buddy. I'm sure that Buddy lived a great life and was lucky to have an awesome owner that obviously cares a lot about him and care a lot about him. So everyone, little rest in peace to Buddy. We'll be thinking about this would be a nice little candle for Buddy to be sent off to. So I'm really, really sorry to hear that. Pets are family, dogs are family. So we're cats, and I'm really sorry to hear that. Jared Mullins, where is Blue Origin liftoff from after all tests are done? Because they will need a stack, correct? So, Jared, if I'm understanding correctly, this vehicle will always stay in this configuration. This is just their new Shepard rocket. When they do the New Glenn rocket, that will always be at Kennedy Space Center, or at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, technically. So we will always see that, and that will be stacked and integrated in, a big old huge rocket. But as far as this, after this lifts off, that's a little bit. Where is Blue Origin lift off from after all the tests are done? So these are 2 different programs. The New Shepard and New Glenn program are different. So this one will always kind of do what it's doing, which is land. They'll go kind of refurbish it, get it ready for the next flight, and they'll probably have a fleet of these vehicles of the actual New Shepard boosters. But the New Glenn again will actually be recovered on a huge, huge, huge ship. They're going to be landing downrange on a Stena freighter, just a massive, massive old cargo ship that they're renovating. And I hope it'd be cool if they showed us that footage, because there is footage of Jeff Bezos breaking it in, or I forget what you actually say, with the champagne or whatever, giving it a name, and he named it after his mom and stuff. So there is some footage out there where they've got it pretty much ready to go, which is awesome, and they're making progress.
All right, everybody, welcome back to New Shepard's 14th mission to space. We're at T-minus 12 minutes to go until launch. I do understand that the team is dealing with some mid-level winds, as we've talked about in the past. It can get windy down there in Texas. It looks like a big, beautiful blue day down there in Texas, but we do have to monitor the winds for the rocket's ascent and, of course, descent. So we're going to keep our eyes on that for just a couple of minutes here. But while we've got some time, Patrick, you, as mentioned, you are part of our lunar program. Do you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts about why are we going back to the moon?
Yeah, Kira asked a great question, which is why are we going back and what are people going to do there? And people are of course going to play a tremendous role in doing all of the science on the moon. There's nothing really like having someone trained as a geologist who can actually go there and actually see what's going on, as
right.
Jack Schmidt will tell you. But also, as we look towards the future, we're going to want to use the moon, which is really a gift for Earth. We're going to want to use it to allow us to start, building that future where millions of people are living and working in space. And what it means is we're going to learn how to use all of the local resources there. So the lunar regolith, the water ice that's there, and many other things we probably haven't even discovered yet. And so we need people there to help, build all that infrastructure, and then slowly start to come back off the surface of the moon and start building all of these great things that we want to have, in space, all over between, the Earth and the moon.
Right, right. I mean, sure, we went there 50 years ago, but there's so much more to learn.
That's right.
And especially as technologies have evolved over the last 5 decades, there's so much more that we can learn. So it's critical that we go back, and as we said, this time to stay.
Yeah, and by the way, we've actually never sent people down to the South Pole. So that's an entirely different part of the moon that is extremely special, that we've never been there. And I can, we get so excited about all the great things we're going to, discover there, all the awesome surprises we're going to have.
Yeah, that will be a very, very good day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're at T-minus 12 minutes. As mentioned, we are still in a hold here, waiting for some mid-level winds to clear, and we've got our eyes on that. So we're going to give our team a couple more minutes. And while we've got a couple more minutes, let's see a question from one of the schools out there.
Hello, I'm Beth Mattingly, and I'm a 3rd grade teacher at Heritage Elementary School in the Madison City School System. My daughter went to Space Camp as part of the curriculum in Madison City Schools. Space Camp really opened her mind to the what-ifs and possibilities of new things. This inspired me even more to bring space-related STEM into the classroom. In my classroom, we talk about career opportunities. What kind of careers do you think will exist in space when Blue Origin's visions of millions of people living and working in space to benefit Earth is realized?
Thank you, Mrs. Mattingly. That's a wonderful question. Right now, when people think of space, they might think, well, it's for engineers and scientists, and it's true. We need a lot of excellent scientists and engineers. But when we're ultimately living and working in space, we're going to need not just the engineers to get us there, but we're going to need all of these other people and other careers to help sustain people as we live and work in space. So we're going to need teachers like you, and we're going to need lawyers, we're going to need business people, we're going to need farmers, we're going to need people to make deliveries. We're going to need all sorts of people when we're ultimately living and working in space. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, I think, Iron, you've hit it right on the head. Right now we're going up there to, explore or conduct experiments, but at some point we're going to be up there to live and work. So you can imagine all of the skills that it takes to live and work are going to be required up in space. It's just, you're going to, you're going to be a space chef or whatever. Right. And eventually, our goal, like we said, is to go to space to benefit Earth. So we're going to want to lift a lot of that heavy industry, off of Earth and actually do it in space. So I imagine, a world in which we're going to have folks up there, working on all of the, really heavy industry, whether it be, generating power or building really highly complex machines. All of those skills are going to be needed. And we're also going to need the filmmakers and the poets and all the people that are going to, look and stare out the window and look back at planet Earth and write all the things that are going to inspire us to, keep going out into space.
Think about all the songs and the books and the movies that have been created already. And that's just with, 500 people or so that have ever been to space? Yep. Can you imagine once we've got millions of people living and working in space, the type of inspiration that they're going to have? I can't wait to see what is in store for us. So thank you, Mrs. Mattingly. What a wonderful question. I appreciate it. Okay, we are at T-minus 12 minutes. Again, we continue to be in a hold here. Let's check out New Shepard on the pad as she gets ready for her 14th mission to space and this rocket's maiden flight.
I did want to point out real quick, they do talk about payloads that they've flown and different experiments. Those experiments do only experience about 4 minutes or so of weightlessness, of 0 Gs, but it is very clean 0 Gs. So you can try to do like the parabolic arcs and stuff on a plane. You might get about 30 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds, and it can be pretty dirty, because it's still a pilot flying, trying to maintain that perfect parabola to be able to give you the experience of weightlessness, right? The experience of weightlessness. And this is a lot cleaner because you're getting out of the atmosphere, getting quite literally into space. But of course, remember to stay in space. You can't just go up and then just coast up and then coast back down. because, oh, are they coming out of the hold? Oh, sweet. They're coming out of the hold. All right. I love to see that. So yeah, if you just go up and turn off your engines, you're going to come right back down. The way that you get into space and stay in space is by getting into orbit. So this vehicle is suborbital. It only goes up and comes back down. To get into orbit, you have to go up to get out of the atmosphere, which can slow you down, and then you have to pitch over and go so fast that you're basically
Thank you, everybody,
falling
for
over the
joining
horizon.
us for our 14th New Shepard launch to space. We are at T-minus 11 minutes and 30 seconds to go until launch. I understand we have just cleared the hold. Our team is ready to go, so thank you so much for your patience. Let's get ready to launch this rocket. I'm super stoked that we're going forward. Okay, we just had a couple of wonderful questions from schools around the country here, and I want to also send some shout-outs to some other schools around the country, those that have sent some postcards that are flying on New Shepard today. So we've got Pinnacle Peak Preparatory in Arizona. I want to send a special hello to a star student there. Hi, Abby. In Florida, near our New Glen Rocket Factory, a special thank you to Grove Park Elementary, Andrew Robinson Elementary, and more. And Patrick, these postcards are coming from all around the world. We've got 13 countries so far. And fun fact, today's flight officially completes the 7th out of 7 continents. We have one postmark from a British research station in Antarctica. Isn't that cool?
That's quite awesome.
Literally,
or cool.
Literally, cool, very cool. If you want to send your postcard to space on New Shepard, visit the club's website for directions. Now, why don't we take a quick breather here and check out New Shepard while she gets ready for her flight.
We're working on syncing our clock here, guys. Cool. Ours is a touch ahead. So here's a good question here from Sean Tucker. How do they not need a fairing for this capsule? Is the rocket slower to ascend, stronger, thicker windows, or something else? Well, normally the spacecraft, if it's human-rated spacecraft, doesn't need fairings. They're designed for atmospheric entry. Look at Dragon. Crew Dragon capsule is not inside of a fairing. Neither is the cargo Dragon capsule. Neither was, Apollo or Gemini or Mercury. Any vehicle that has a human in it is typically on top so they can abort, right? And they don't need a fairing. Also, the maximum aerodynamic pressure on a suborbital vehicle will be a lot lower than a typical orbital launch because they're just going slower. Because they're going slower, there's always going to be a max Q of any rocket. Of a model rocket will have a maximum Q. That's just the time when the aerodynamic pressure is greatest on the vehicle.
All right, that is a live look at New Shepard about to make her final preparations to go to space and back. Patrick, while we have another moment here, why don't you take us through a profile of the flight today?
Yeah, that sounds great, Ariane. So many of our viewers, I think, are going to recognize this. We've done this again and again as we keep practicing and maturing our suborbital system. So we're going to start out by launching both the booster and the capsule, off of our launch pad. We're going to shoot up quite quickly, and at about 2.5 minutes after launch, we're going to shut down that main engine on the booster. Shortly thereafter, we're going to separate the capsule and the booster. They're going to obviously keep ascending up because of all the speed we've actually been able to impart on them. That's the point, Ariane, where if you and I were in that capsule, we would unstrap and float around and just look out those great windows. Of course, in this flight, Mannequin will stay where he is.
I would do a somersault.
I know you would.
I keep saying that. I'm going to do it one day, I promise you.
And then at that point, the booster is going to come back down first because it's more aerodynamically shaped. So it's going to re-enter, and then it'll start slowing itself down. And then about 3,000 feet above the surface, that BE-3 PM engine is going to relight and then gently and very accurately and precisely land that rocket down on the north landing pad. In the meantime, we would get back into our seats and strap back in. The capsule would re-enter, and then after going through the atmosphere, the drogue chutes are going to open up. They're going to help stabilize the capsule, and then they're going to pull the 3 main chutes out. We're going to see 3 great big chutes open, slow down the capsule, and then just before touchdown, we're going to see our terminal descent system shoot out a puff of air, which is going to kick up a lot of dust, but that puff of air is going to allow a pillow soft landing for Mannequin and our future astronaut.
Wonderful. 1 to 2 miles an hour, right? Super soft. Should be another beautiful launch and landing today. Well, I do want, while we have an extra minute here, I do want to talk a little bit about the launch site 1, West Texas. We've talked about this before. It's not only where we launch and land New Shepard, as you were just talking about, but it's also where we test our rocket engines. And I want to cut to a clip, fresh out hot the oven clip of our BE-4 engine test from earlier this week that we've prepared for you. This is our BE-4 engine. 550,000 pounds of thrust. That's in comparison to 110,000 pounds of thrust on the BE-3 engine that's flying today. We also, it's LOX LNG, so it's a different propellant. And here you see it firing. This is one of our 2 test stands. That's down in West Texas. There's some drone footage that we compiled for you. That thing creates quite the rumble down in the valley in Texas. And ultimately, this is going to propel United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket, as well as our New Glenn vehicle. There will be 7 of these engines on the base of New Glenn, and that is going to create a rumble down in Florida when we launch New Glenn. So kudos to our engine team for the progress on this groundbreaking engine.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
we're
awesome.
at T-minus 5 minutes and 50 seconds to go until launch. We're getting really close here. So let's do a quick recap of the headlines of today's launch. Today, we're flying upgrades to the astronaut experience inside New Shepard's Crew Capsule, and we're getting very, very close to flying our first astronaut. So that's why it's critical that we test these systems. Let's do a recap of those. There will be 6 seats on board. Mannequin Skywalker is going to be occupying one of those seats. There will be push-to-talk capabilities in each seat. There'll be speakers to hear mission control throughout the flight. There will be environmental systems, including a cooling system and humidity controls to regulate the temperature inside the capsule. But in particular, that's also going to prevent these big, beautiful windows from fogging up during the flight. We're also testing a crew alert system at each seat, which has important indicators to take you through the entire flight as an astronaut. And last but not least, you've seen in there the white acoustic paneling in there. That's to dampen any engine noises or any sorts of other ambient noises. So in the final moments here, all eyes are on New Shepard. We're at T-minus 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go until launch. Right about now is when she's going to start to come alive. So mission control at T-minus 2 minutes throws the show over to New Shepard, and that's when she goes into autonomous mode from T-minus 2 minutes through launch and landing. So we're going to throw it out to the pad, check out New Shepard here as she gets ready, and the next set that we'll come back for to talk you through are the final hydraulic system checks and the engine gimbal check.
Sweet. Real quick, thanks to PJ and Heath for the memberships, and Aria and Ernestus for the saying hi. That's awesome. And I want to also reflect on Chris's attitude of saying it's a great pity that people come to this chat and show just how he says how stupid they are. I don't think that's true, but there is room to support every space endeavor. That's 100%. This is hashtag Team Space. Of course, this program is different than their New Glenn. Even if this was all that Blue Origin wanted to do, period, why wouldn't we be celebrating this? This is awesome. This is a great vehicle. It's really cool to see it using hydrogen, using propulsive landing and reuse, and successfully. I mean, this has been an extremely successful program. So I think we should celebrate that fact alone, forgetting the orbital class New Glenn that's coming just around the corner. So just kind of keep that in mind, that just because one thing is launching doesn't mean you can't be excited for something else. Like, I know a lot of us are really hyped right now for Starship and things like that, but there's a lot of other fun things to cheer for too, and this is one of them in my opinion. So I'm here to... Oh, we got another brief hold. Hopefully they'll let us know. Thomas said Blue Origin slipped up, accidentally admitting they know they won HLS. I didn't hear that. I need to listen again. That'd be really interesting. If they actually won the human landing systems, from our understanding, the proposal that Blue Origin has, along with... Oh, they're back out of the hold. That was fast. Good. Only a 30-second hold. Andrew's working on fixing the clock. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, the human landing system, of course, Blue Origin has their lander that they showed you quickly. But there's also, there's Dynetics, who has another lander, and there's SpaceX with Starship as a lander. And we're expecting NASA to do a down select. There's currently those 3 proposals. We're expecting them to down select to 2. So we'll see. I would actually be surprised, honestly, that although I wouldn't be that surprised if the national team won, because the national team does have Lockheed Martin literally using almost the same systems for Orion. So it'd be really easy for them to integrate Orion and the Ascent module, and then they would also put that on the transfer vehicle that's made by Northrop Grumman, and then also integrate that. Oh, they're retracting
all right, everybody,
that. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back for New Shepard's 14th mission to space. You see the gantry retracting there. We are getting ready for a launch, Patrick. This is when it gets really exciting. All right, we have thrown the show over to the rocket. She is in autonomous mode right now. We're waiting to see the final hydraulic system checks and engine gimbal check.
I love all these shots. Seeing all the hardware plugged into the vehicle.
There you go. You see the aft fins, making sure they've got full clearance there. There are 4 fins on the base of that rocket. You want to check these aerodynamic surfaces and systems before flight. This is just exactly what a pilot does on an aircraft.
The one looked like there's a little clicky. I hope that was okay.
Waiting here for the engine gimbal check. You see the nozzle there peeking out. There it goes. The engine is also obviously to propel the rocket, but is critical in guiding the rocket on its ascent, but as well as on its descent as it comes into land on the northern landing pad just 2 miles north of where the rocket is taken off from. All right, and that takes us to launch. Lieutenant Control, here we go, New Shepard. Have a great flight, Mannequin Skywalker. Enjoy that shiny new capsule, and we'll see you back home soon at Launch Site 1.
All right. So, like I said, this will be nice and short.
Minus 16, guidance internal.
They'll get about 4 minutes of weightlessness, and
T minus 10.
It gets off the pad pretty quick.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1. Ignition.
There we go. Nice. Oh, look at that drone shot.
Oh, yeah, look at her go. Mission Control has confirmed New Shepard has cleared the tower on her way to space from Launch Site 1 in the West Texas desert with Mannequin Skywalker on board. Right about now, the fins on the aft portion of the vehicle are going to help the vehicle do its roll maneuver.
Oh, that's
the
cool.
booster is going to be rolling at about 2 to 3 degrees per second, which equates to a full rotation of the vehicle every 2 to 3 minutes. This, of course, is to give the astronauts a 360-degree view during the flight. All right, coming up here on Max Q, maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket. It's the toughest portion of the flight for the rocket. And we've confirmed Max Q. Excellent.
They hit that at only about 1,000 kilometers and pretty low altitude too. So that's what we were saying. Each vehicle experiences maximum dynamic pressure at a different speed. It's relative to their speed and their altitude.
All right, you can see on the top right side of your screen, that's where you can follow along as we're gaining speed as she climbs up towards space. In the bottom left corner is the altimeter, noted in feet above ground level, although you may have noticed upon at liftoff we were sitting at 3,700 feet above mean sea level. That's the altitude of our West Texas launch site.
Yeah, so sorry for those of you that are
now Mannequin Skywalker, and they're starting to feel those G's, around 3.5 G's on the way up to space. It's very similar to a roller coaster, but in that horizontal position of the seats, definitely is a much more comfortable ride.
About 3,000 kilometers an hour for those of you not speaking freedom units. And they're about 50,000 meters at this point.
All right, now approaching main engine cutoff, or MECO. So we're going to shut off the BE-3 engine. MECO is confirmed.
So notice, of course, it's slowing down now, but it's still gaining in altitude.
The booster and the capsule are continuing as their combined ascent to space. As you watch the altitude continue to speed is dropping, of course, as it no longer has the propulsion from the BE-3 engine.
Yeah, that
separation of the two craft is confirmed. You can start to see the two craft in the screen.
Yeah, I can see there's two there now.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live for New Shepard's 14th mission to space, the maiden launch for this rocket. So far, everything appears to be nominal. The two craft have separated. Right about now is when, if you were an astronaut in there, that's when you'd be able to float around, gaze out of those huge, gorgeous windows, maybe even do a somersault or two. I know I would certainly do that.
Wow.
And as we've noted in previous flights, if you follow along on the speed on the top right corner, as soon as that speed hits 0, that's when you know that the rocket and the capsule have hit its apogee point, the highest point in the flight of the rocket.
So it's over 100 kilometers by now. So they are technically in space now. Of course, because it's suborbital, it's just going to go up and come right back down. All right, we're coming up on apogee here. Once that hits 0, boop, and coming back down.
It's hit 0, and now they are heading back home. We should have an unofficial apogee altitude coming up here shortly.
It'll be right around 350.
But we've gone well over 100 kilometers. The Kármán line, the official line of space, and there it is, 350,827 feet above, I believe, mean sea level. So that is excellent. A great flight, well over the Kármán line.
Yep.
Mannequin Skywalker is an astronaut once again.
I really hope they give us a replay with the inside
Now, the capsule should be continuing to do its slow spin. Everybody gets a window seat in the capsule of New Shepard, but now we're making sure everybody gets the perfect view.
So you can see here that the booster is accelerating faster because it's
all right, the two craft are heading back home now. The booster is going to beat the capsule back home. Obviously, it's more aerodynamically shaped, and so it's going to come down first. Right about now, in the next 10 to 15 seconds or so, this is when we expect the rocket to hit atmospheric pierce point. That means that's when it's coming back in, and it's back home from space, and it has enough air pressure upon which it can use its aerodynamic surfaces to push, and that will help guide the rocket back to its landing pad, again, 2 miles north of where it's taken off from. We have confirmation that the wedge fins have been deployed. Those fins are at the forward section, the top section of the rocket. They're housed in the ring fin. They also help provide stability for the rocket as it comes into land.
Yeah, they're the ones that pop out. They're not the drag brakes yet. There's ones that pop out this way. The drag brakes pop out this way. So first, they have those ring fins, the wedge fins. You'll see the drag brake deployed very late on.
And this booster is screaming home right about now. Its maximum return velocity is just under Mach 4.
I want to ride the booster. Sell me a seat on that.
So we're looking now for the drag brakes to deploy. As soon as those deploy, you'll see the speed come down very rapidly. You're starting to see that in the top right corner there.
That's already now, that's about how high Starship's
And then in quick succession, we're going to get the BE-3 engine to restart. The landing gear will deploy, and then the booster will come in for a nice soft touchdown.
It's screaming, though.
There are the drag brakes.
I love how late they light the engine. It always looks like it's going to be way too late. Sonic booms. There we go.
Engine restart. Landing gear deployed. And touchdown. Welcome back, New Shepard. Oh, you can hear our team back here at headquarters enjoying this moment for this rocket.
That's awesome.
What a day. Did a nice little maneuver there to bring it back to the center of the pad, but that is what we're looking for. A completely autonomous system, Patrick. That never gets old. That's the type of stuff that makes live rocket launches and landings so exciting.
I know. Every time I see that booster come back, it's just like your heart's in your throat. But it's so exciting to see it actually come back and just perfectly land down there.
Incredible,
awesome.
Incredible. Kudos to our whole team for adding yet another rocket to our fleet. Wow. Okay. Well, the show is not over.
That's right.
We still are waiting here for the crew capsule to come back. As noted, first the drogue chutes will deploy. Those are like the guide parachutes. The mains will then deploy. You'll also see the mains then inflate to full inflation. And once they're fully inflated, that's when the crew capsule starts to slow down. Comes in a nice 15, 16 miles an hour, a nice cruise back home. We'll wait for it to come back in to our valley in West Texas, and it will land. And just as we talked about, just in the last milliseconds, the retro thrust system fires, and it creates a nice pillow, air pillow, if you will. So Mannequin Skywalker, by the time he touches down, it's just at about 1 mile an hour. It's a nice, soft touchdown.
I was going to say, are they going to show it?
And there we go. The crew capsule has its mains deployed, fully inflated. What an incredible day for the team.
Looks like it's coming right at the camera. It's getting blown around by wind. Look at that. It's translating sideways a lot. Yeah. Oh, that is their drone, isn't it? Yeah.
What a beautiful shot. You know,
That's
Mannequin
cool.
Skywalker, I mean, if he had adrenaline, his heart would be thumping pretty hard. What a day. All the way up over the Kármán line and back. Coming in for a nice soft cruise back into our West Texas Valley there.
That's a cool shot.
Just about 400 feet above ground level. We're waiting for the retro thrust systems to fire.
Yeah, don't forget, you will see a big puff of dirt, but that's from retro thrusters that slow it down before it touches down. So that looks like a big
and
kaplat,
touchdown.
but that's to slow it down, so it's a softer landing for people. The Soyuz does the exact same thing. The Soyuz capsule also has retro thrusters, just like that.
What a beautiful shot.
And props
Congratulations
to the drone
to
pilots,
all of Team Blue. Really
awesome.
Well deserved. This is our 14th mission. A safe landing for the booster, safe landing for the crew capsule. We added a little, add a little bit of char to the bottom of the that rocket. Came back nice and clean though. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. Now, if you were an astronaut on board that capsule there, you would have had an incredible ride up over the Kármán line and back. Get the big, beautiful views out of the, we did the 360-degree spin this time. Get your 3 minutes of weightlessness. I can't wait to check out the onboard cameras to see the views that Mannequin Skywalker experienced today. Just what a day.
I know. And how about those drone shots of the rocket and actually the capsule coming down? Those were pretty spectacular.
Those were beautiful.
Yeah, those drone shots were awesome.
Looks
Seriously.
like a nice, clean landing right there in the desert. Everything looks to have gone perfectly today. So our recovery crew is going to be headed out to the crew capsule to open up the hatch, inspect the craft, greet Mannequin Skywalker, and retrieve the postcards on board.
Yeah, I always think about this moment when I try to visualize, what would it be like to actually fly on New Shepard and be coming right back down. And so you just landed safely, the hatch just opens, and now for the first time you step out of the hatch and back onto Earth, and you're an astronaut. And you've seen the Earth from 100 kilometers up from space just moments ago, and now here you are back on it. I mean, that must just be incredible. But this was such an exciting mission, such an exciting day. Let's take a look at some of the replays here to show you that gorgeous takeoff and landing.
I wish they would show us some of the views from inside the capsule with those huge windows that they love and we all love.
There we go. The BE-3 engine firing. 110 110,000 pounds of thrust, pushing that rocket and the crew capsule up to space.
It's about a 50-ton engine or
Patrick,
so,
I know you've been down there during these launches. The rumble that comes from that engine as the rocket is taking off is just incredible. It shakes your bones.
It really does. And, you know, as it takes off, like, it goes really fast. There's a lot of rockets where, you know, the ascent is actually quite slow, but this one, I mean, it's flying.
It's going. It's gone.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, today is a huge win, not just for New Shepard, but also for our human landing system and our return to the moon. That BE-3 engine that you see right there, that's a liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen propellant combination. And that's the same combination that we use on BE-7, our lunar lander engine. And you can just, I mean, right there, you can see that power, you know, when it launches, and you can see that precision when it lands too, right? When you throttle it down, you get that nice precision landing.
Nice soft landing.
And so, you know, if we were just building New Shepard just to do this mission, the suborbital mission, we would have probably chosen, you know, a different propellant type, something much easier to work with. But this combination is just so powerful and so efficient and so useful. You know, we use it on the upper stage of New Glenn, again, in order to get that efficiency. And that's why we're also using it on the BE-7 engine that will power that descent element for the human landing system for NASA's, you know, Artemis program. And you know,
the orbital.
As we all know, there's water ice in the South Pole on the moon. So I imagine one day here in a very near future, when we have built out our South Pole infrastructure on the moon, we're going to be able to use that water, break it down to liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, refuel our lander, and use it again and again. I mean, that's going to go such a long way to make our sustainable presence on the moon.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see the lunar lander, and then the lunar lander with humans on board, right? Every program here at Blue Origin has been designed for human spaceflight from the very beginning. And as for today's mission, as we mentioned, we flew some upgrades to the astronaut experience inside this capsule that you see on the screen. So we're getting really close to flying humans. We're getting there. And as we watch the recovery team, why don't we run through some of the upgrades that we had on board today? So the capsule that you see there were 6 flight seats on board. Mannequin Skywalker, of course, was in one of them. The speakers in the cabin have a microphone now and a push-to-talk button at each seat so the astronauts can talk to mission control on the ground at all times. We flew the crew alert system, which has a panel on each seat with lights and sounds that convey important safety messages. The wall linings in the capsule help suppress engine and ambient noise for comfortable acoustics inside the cabin. Also, environmental systems, including a cooling system and humidity controls to regulate temperatures and prevent the capsule windows from fogging up during flight. Of course, when you're up there, you want to see that gorgeous view. So some really exciting stuff. You see there on your screen there, that's our recovery team that has made it out to the capsule. As we mentioned, they're going to open up the hatch, greet Mannequin Skywalker back, and then get those postcards because we want to stamp them flown to space and send them out to all the kids. So before we close out here, I do hear that we have the statistics from today's mission. Why don't we take a look? These, of course, are unofficial statistics. We will release the official statistics after the webcast. So, crew capsule apogee, 350,827 feet.
About 110
Maximum
kilometers.
ascent velocity, 2,242 miles per hour. Mission start time, 11:17 a.m. Central Time. Mission elapsed time, 10 minutes and 15 seconds.
So
that's
a little
super
over 3,000
inspiring.
kilometers an hour.
It's so exciting to see us be able to, you know, hit these numbers over and over. And, you know, if you were inspired, just like we were super inspired by what you saw here today, and want to come help us, you know, build that road to space, you know, we're hiring across all of our locations in the United States. We're hiring for New Shepard, for New Glenn, for engines, and of course for advanced development programs and for our human landing system. So I encourage everybody to go onto our website and actually go check those listings out.
Come
and
join the
get
team.
a job. Yeah, come join the team. Help us build the roads to space. And of course, you can also commemorate today's launch. You can pick up one of these really cool official New Shepard 14 mission patches and other gear at our shop by going to shop.blueorigin.com. Look at that cool mission patch right there, man. I want to add that to my collection.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you have all of them?
I do, all of them.
That is really, really cool. Well, I know that there are a lot of folks that want to get their hands on them, so again, please go to that website. All right, that is all from here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in for New Shepard's 14th flight to space. The success of this flight puts us one really big step closer to flying astronauts. And Patrick, there's going to be a lot of fun ahead in 2021.
Awesome.
All right, guys, stay in touch with us, and in the interim, stay safe out there. And as always, Gradatum Ferociter.
That little tease at the end, that was mean, Ariane. I just want, like, I just, yeah, they just stopped the stream. And that's going to do it for boom, done. But that tease at the end, so there's 3 things that we're obviously excited for Blue Origin that we might see this year. Number 1 would be flying humans on New Shepard. Number 2 would be some progress and seeing some new Glenn hardware get out to the pad. I personally don't think we'll see it fly orbitally this year, but we should see the BE-4s fly orbitally this year because those BE-4 engines that are also on New Glenn will be flying on ULA's Vulcan rocket. So we'll see some flight with those engines. Hopefully, the race is on for the first methane-powered orbital rocket because Starship uses methane, New Glenn uses methane, Vulcan uses methane. And the other milestone that we're excited to hear, and I feel like they almost teased it twice now, that they may, if they won the human landing system contract, that would be huge. And just even having those contracts up and ready and showing us who's going to be coming out with these landers and all that stuff, that was awesome. The things I was a little disappointed about today's launch is we didn't see, they kept talking about all these hardware upgrades. Why didn't they show us inside the capsule and give us feeds from inside the capsule? Because that obviously helps us feel like we're there along too. But hopefully they'll release some kind of something on Twitter or YouTube after the fact, and that would be awesome. So very cool. Congrats again to Blue Origin and the teams. We're excited to see what you guys are working on that you hold so tightly because I personally know it's really cool. And I'm excited to have the rest of the world finally catch up to see what you guys are working on too. So let me get through your guys' comments quick, and then I've got to roll out because, like I said, I do olfpod.com. We do a podcast every week, so I have to get ready for that. So I'll have to just kind of rapid fire through these questions here for you guys. This is from Small Fox. Joe should go with you to Blue Origin and go through Space Camp. Joe going to Space Camp would be very amusing, I feel like. That would be honestly worth it. Excalibur 109, I thought this wasn't a flown booster. It looks sooty in some areas. I don't think it was sooty, maybe just from static fires. And there's not actually soot from the static fires. The only reason you really get those scorch marks on reentry is from ablative material. So they do have a little bit of ablative material in the paint. The paint's basically this coating of ablative material because it does still get really warm on reentry and also just even coming back in through its own plume and stuff. So that's to keep the vehicle from melting, basically. Yeah, so even during static fires and stuff like that, some of that would see some wear. But the engine itself does not produce any soot. It is a hydrogen engine, so Hydrolox has no soot. There's no carbon emissions at all, just quite literally water vapor. From Camera Film Production Studio, good morning, Tim. Do you know the difference between a high bay and a vehicle assembly building is? I think they're quite literally just a different name. I can't think of, the vehicle assembly building is just kind of named the vehicle assembly building, but really it is just a high bay. I don't think there's any real strong distinction or importance between, the high bay is just kind of what they call the high bay here at Boca Chica, but that one wouldn't be a vehicle assembly building because you're not necessarily assembling the vehicle there. So that might be a distinction, is that you're inside of the vehicle assembly building. You're quite literally for this, for the Saturn V, you were stacking the different stages of the Saturn V rocket inside that vehicle. So as a vehicle assembly building, quite literally, the high bay, and same with the space shuttle. Obviously you had you'd put the solid rocket boosters up with the center tank, the external fuel tank, and then you'd mount the orbiter to the side of the fuel tank. It was assembling the vehicle. Now the high bay doesn't do that. The high bay is actually more of like a high manufacturing bay because they do assemble stages in there, but they don't actually assemble the stages on top of each other inside the high bay. The high bay only finalizes production and will do, some of the ring stacking and stuff like that for the booster, but it's not stacking the booster and the Starship on top of each other. Those are done at the pad. So I guess in that sense, it's not a vehicle assembly building. It is a high bay. It is a tall manufacturing bay. So that's probably the distinction. That's actually a good question. Someone in the back, why is there such a large turnaround time for New Shepard? I don't know. I honestly, any of the timelines with anything Blue Origin, I don't quite know. Some of the things, they've done some quick turnaround times, actually. They've done some really quick ones in the past. Lately, it seems like, I don't know if they just kind of took a pause on it while they're waiting for the human landing system or what, or if they put more resources into human landing and New Glenn for a little bit, but it definitely seemed like there's some slower turnaround times than I would like to see. But hopefully they get those down, and 2021 might be the year they just start finally cranking these babies and just flying them often, like at least monthly. That'd be great. From Pierce, says, hi, Tim, love your content. When will the video about the Russian engines be finished? I have no idea. At this point, Starship stuff has taken, it took about 2.5 weeks. Actually, by the time you travel time in, about 3 weeks of time in December. It's currently on track. Serial number 9 is taking about 3 weeks. We squeezed out between the holidays, taking a couple days off, and then and doing the Astro Awards, we squeezed that in between those two things. Currently, Starship is taking up a lot of time, and we're not having days off around here. We're spending each day getting equipment prepared, working on trying to figure out a Studio B option down here so that we don't have these big times, that we could just keep everything set up. Show up down here someday, fly down here, and just pop on camera and watch Starship stuff without having to do, 3, 4, 5 days of setup and tear down every time. So, yeah, it's quite literally, this will be the definition of when it's done. It has not been shot yet. We're still even tweaking the script a little bit, but it's very close, and that, I hope, is the next video we get to shoot. It'll be a long one, though. Thank you very much for the Mars Studio, and don't forget coffee. Thank you very much, Frederick. Jason, how many passenger flights have been booked for New Shepard? We don't know. They don't tell us, unfortunately. DJ Jones, I'm sure this has been asked and answered, but how many times has this booster been flown? This particular booster, it was its first flight. So that was its inaugural flight, and hopefully we see it fly quite a bit more often now. So, yeah, good question. Heath Blondin, I really enjoy the amount of work of your info you cover. It is great to see some educational material in the age of mostly fictional entertainment. Great work. Well, thank you, Heath. It's just exciting stuff. And there's a lot of good info out there, so we just try to provide that, and I try to stay as up-to-date as I possibly can on this stuff. So it's fun to watch. Simone Piccolo says, hi, Tim, from Italy. This is the 14th launch. Being a private agency, no NASA. Who is it that defines if the vehicle is safe for launch of humans? I believe that's actually an FAA certification. This is well within the realms of FAA qualifications for safe human transportation, because that's essentially what it's doing. So I think the FAA would have final say in giving them a launch license for people, would be my understanding. So, yeah. Glenn, hi, Tim. I'm actually here in Van Horn, Texas, about 30 miles or so from Corn Ranch. Hopefully I can see the launch from here. That's awesome, Glenn. I wonder if you should be able to. 30 miles away, the only hard thing would be finding it, because it's small, blue sky, it doesn't leave a big smoke trail or anything, being hydrogen, so it'd actually be kind of hard to see. But if you know right where you're looking and you knew right when, you probably hopefully did catch it. That is very cool. Kurt says, do you think New Shepard will get human spaceflight approval this year? And do you think New Glenn will launch this year? Human spaceflight, yes. New Glenn, I don't think will launch this year, but I really hope we see it out of the pad by the end of the year. That's my guess. From Jaswinder says, just to see how you will pronounce my name. Love your videos and live streams. Well, thank you. Jaswinder Singh Sidhu. That's my best bet. Thank you for saying hi, and I hope I didn't slaughter it too much. From Nicholas says, hi, Tim. Thanks for all you do. Is this rocket called New Shepard because it mimics what Alan Shepard did when he went through space? Yes, and notice the next rocket is called New Glenn. So, of course, New Shepard, Alan Shepard, suborbital flight. New Glenn would be John Glenn, first orbital flight. Their next mega rocket that they're kind of have hinted at a few times would be New Armstrong. Big, orbital, like lunar version, mega rocket type of thing, like Starship competitor. They'll be calling New Armstrong. So, yep, good eye. From Dhruv Patel, Dhruv Patel. Can you ask Elon Musk for financing the ticket to Mars? And do I need to be an astronaut to go to Mars, or commercial will be good? Definitely, he wants it to be able to literally be like a $200,000 ticket to Mars commercially. You don't need to be an astronaut someday. Of course, these are aspirations. The first people that will go to Mars will likely be an international collaboration. It'll likely be NASA astronauts, JAXA, ESA, maybe some ISRO astronauts. People from all over the world will likely be on that first mission to Mars. Sean, how close is Corn Ranch from Boca Chica? Will you see here New Shepard from Boca Chica? Texas is very big. Texas is bigger than a lot of countries. Texas is probably literally bigger than any European country, and it might be bigger than like half of Europe. I mean, it's huge. It's a 12-hour drive basically from here to where New Shepard, or from where New Shepard took off from. So no hearing it from here or seeing it. So, yep. Christian, do we know when NASA will select the companies who will use the moon lander? I forget. I feel like it's either February or April is the down select, but I am blanking at this current moment. But it is really soon, in the next 2 or 3 months, if I recall. So, yeah. All right. Rodent says, though Blue Origin is behind the curve on prototyping, I hope this is a success. In the event that SpaceX has multiple failures, we need options to reach orbit. Yeah, once New Glenn is online, it'll be an awesome launch vehicle. And of course, dissimilar redundancy is always a good thing. We need multiple launch providers. So, yeah. All right, this is What About It? Felix, beef. Thanks for streaming, Tim. That's funny. Someone asked last night if Felix, who also runs an awesome YouTube channel, asked, do you have a beef with Everyday Astronaut? I was like, what? It had nothing to do with anything. And Felix and I are friends. I was able to meet him last March or February or so. I think it was about February, late February-ish. And it was awesome. It was great meeting Felix, and I can't wait to see him again. And hopefully soon he can travel safely here to be able to catch some events. So, yeah. Hi, Felix. Thanks for saying hi, and thanks for the tip. Jared, do you think Virgin Galactic will ever see passengers? Yes, I 100% think Virgin Galactic will see passengers. The race is on right now between who will get commercial passengers first, Virgin Galactic or Blue Origin. Sorry, guys, I'm going to be just flying through these as quick as I can because I am about to be late. So here we go. John Bauer, are there negatives to having more rounded nose cones? I'm sure there's some aerodynamic considerations between them being more aerodynamic versus pointed. Even how it comes back, because don't forget the air will a lot of times kind of, there'll be a little bit of a negative pressure zone right at the edge of the nose cone. And depending on the structure of your booster, how it tapers and stuff, you might need to change the bluntness of your nose cone to make sure that how it comes back and reattaches to the vehicle is acceptable. So there's probably just different considerations for different vehicles, different profiles. The New Shepard having a big, it does actually taper in after that ring on New Shepard. So maybe the bluntness of it, the big rounded bit is so that it helps to create the right pressure zone underneath that ring. But I don't know. But there's a ton of work going into the aerodynamics of nose cones and specific considerations for different vehicles. Definitely. Justin Hook, thanks for becoming a member. I appreciate that. We'll be having some member and Patreon live streams here hopefully soon. Maybe it'll be probably not after SN9 because that's always crazy busy. So maybe we'll squeeze one in tomorrow, but we do need to do a Patreon and member live stream here soon. Quentin, thank you for the pear emoji. That means a lot. Justin Hook, thank you also again for a very nice donation. Thank you very much. Donation to provide cameras on the rocket. I wish from Yo Fave Black Guy. Thank you. I wish I could do that. I would if I could, 100%. Chazzy Mac, why do they land 2 miles away when Starship lands like 100 meters or something ridiculous? I don't know. Different decisions, maybe just to make sure that they're landing. I don't know. Different considerations, I guess. They all have their own profile. Maybe they do want to land a little bit downrange just for safety considerations, and who knows? SM, thank you for the tip. I appreciate that. Nick C. Hey, Tim, when New Shepard goes commercial, will they still broadcast these launches, and will you ride one day? Thanks. Thanks. You're awesome. Thank you, Nick. I don't know. I hope that they still do broadcast them. Eventually, if they're launching like once a week, it might become a little bit mundane, but I would love to fly on it. Actually, that is a rocket I would step on and fly. It'd be fun. Halter. Wow, Halter, thank you. Tim, great day in and day out work on your part. We're curious, how many years do you estimate that Blue Origin is behind SpaceX? Really hard to tell. It feels like they're about 2 or 3 years behind by my bet. Maybe 4 or 5 in other regards, but I would say, because don't forget, New Glenn is going to be almost leapfrogging even Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. Like, in some ways, it can outperform Falcon Heavy. So that kind of gets them on track. Starship's just scary. Starship is insane. So if that wasn't going online, I would say that they're only about a year or two. But Starship is pushing that meter even further, like 5 to 7 years, but somewhere between there in different regards. So TJ Wolf says, trench cam, meet pad cam. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, TJ. Carrie, Tim's drone fund. Thank you very much, Carrie. If we could fly legally anywhere near a rocket like that, I would, but obviously there's safety concerns and no-fly zones around launches. One beat short, lots of money for an amusement park ride. It'd be quite the amusement park ride, though, honestly. I would do it. I would absolutely do it. Mark O'Donnell, thanks, Tim. Love the feeds. Great stuff. Keep it up. Really enjoyed that launch landing. I did, too. These are nice and fun. Something easy to watch and get excited about. Wayne Cram, New Shepard's hover before booster landing isn't optimal, right? Would that work for larger New Glenn booster due to size? It has only to do with the thrust to weight ratio. So assuming that with 7 engines on New Glenn and how deeply they can throttle New Glenn or the BE4, that all depends on whether or not they can hover. Now the New Shepard can hover because that engine can throttle way down. It has like a low throttle setting that goes into like 10% throttle or something. It's super impressive. It is not optimal, but it does allow you for some translating and some other options during landing. Frank, thank you for the membership. Felix, again, there's 26,000 people watching this and only 4,792 likes. Give it up for Tim. Well, thank you very much, Felix. Thank you. Thanks for helping to hype. That means a lot. Thank you, Felix. Ryan says, thanks for sparking my interest in flying to space again. You're welcome, Ryan. Absolutely, my pleasure. Isaac, after fees, this is enough to buy a bean burrito. Yeah, we've been eating plenty of yummy burritos and tacos because you have to. Adam Lee, do you think SpaceX will maintain their advantage in spaceflight for private companies, considering they are already flying humans to space? Yes, I think they will continue their advantage because they just keep accelerating their progress and they're not slowing down. So that's why I think they will stay ahead of other private companies because they're reinvesting and just accelerating their ramp up like you wouldn't believe. And it's really hard to catch up when that's the case. Theater Maker, how's it going? It will be a long one, though. Tim, your videos are always long, but we love it. Yeah, this will be like an hour and a half. The Russian video will be like literally an hour and a half. So, yeah. Marcos, say hello to Brazil. Thank you very much. And hello, Brazil. Chris Lang, can you speak a little bit about New Glenn? We kind of did. I have a whole video about New Glenn. I have an entire video dedicated to New Glenn, so definitely watch that. It's still relatively up to date, even though it's 2 or 3 years old now. So, Ryan, Texas is still smaller than my province in Ontario. Really, I did not realize that. Daniel, what I don't understand, how much more testing do they need still? Do they already have this? They've already done this 14 times successfully. What is missing? That's the big question. I really just want to see them fly humans and get to that next step. Hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later. Alexander, will Blue Origin Mars rocket be called New Musk? Maybe. Well, it might be named after the first person to step on Mars. You never know. And lastly, from Mech A66, my views on ISRO. I love ISRO. They're doing amazing things. I will be doing a video about them. Hopefully this year is the year I finally do that. But I love ISRO. And yeah, guys, I'm sorry, but I really have to get going. Yeah, Matt, I don't know why you're asking me to stop reading YouTube chat. I'm always watching Discord. If you want to join our Discord channel and help me do what I do, consider becoming a Patreon supporter by going to patreon.com/everydayastronaut. Stay tuned. I think tomorrow we're going to do a stream at the pad talking about SN9. So get ready for that. We'll get that up there. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for me, though. Thank you all of you that watched and liked and subscribed. And we had one more from Chuck. Thank you very much for sneaking in here. But that's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.